As we get closer to the start of the 2023 season, I'm going to be ranking every single circuit on this year's calendar.
Round goes Leclerc, through goes Now it's a game of chess.
Starting things off, we have the Bahrain International Circuit. Bahrain. This circuit is pretty decent, being the birthplace of some absolutely iconic moments in the recent years of Formula 1, including the first Max vs Lewis battle in the iconic 2021 season, an awesome battle between Max and Charles in 2022, back when we thought we would have a championship on our hands, while it was on a different layout, George Russell's first time racing a Mercedes, and well, that. Overall, since the Formula 1 circus first came into town in 2004, we've seen some really good racing here, especially now it's run under the lights. So overall, I would give Bahrain an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm going to put it in the A tier. Next up, we have the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. Now, looking at this track from purely a racing point of view, and ignoring its safety issues and stuff like that, this track is god tier. It is the fastest street circuit in the world, and has provided both an awesome spectacle, I mean just look at those onboards, but also some amazing moments in 2021 and 2022. For example, Verstappen vs Hamilton in 2021, where we saw arguably drama-wise the greatest race of the season, and in 2022, an incredible battle between Max and Charles, where they would battle for DRS in an Alonso Hamilton-esque fight. Overall, this is a track that I rate very highly, and it's one I always look forward to on the calendar, and hence I will give it a 9 out of 10, putting it in the S tier. Next up, we have the land down under, Australia. The Albert Park circuit has been made better with the reprofiling of a couple of turns, but has lost some of its magic, no longer being the first race of the year. Overall, aside from a Herculean drive from Alex Albon in 2022, we still haven't seen too much of this new reprofiled version, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10, placing it in the B tier. Next up, the king of modern high-speed street circuits. It's the Baku City Circuit in Azerbaijan. Baku, what can I say, it's incredible almost every year. I'm talking 2017, with a mental race including Seb driving into Lewis out of anger, some Danny Rick overtaking,
And down the inside goes Daniel Ricciardo!
teammates crashing into each other, and a Lance Stroll podium in a Williams, all in 1 year. Other notable moments include that of Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen colliding, Max getting a season-defining puncture, a Lewis Hamilton brake magic issue, and a Sebastian Vettel podium in an Aston Martin. This track really is one of the best, 10 out of 10, and obviously in the S tier. Next up is Miami, and this is god-awful trash, 2 out of 10, let's move on. Moving on to Imola. The Autodromo Enzo, a Dino Ferrari circuit, hosts the Formula 1 Gran Premio del Made in Italy del Emilia Romagna 2023 Grand Prix.
Have you ever had a dream that you had?
It's a fun track and has hosted some crazy moments in Formula 1's history, though I feel like Formula 1 has outgrown this track a little bit, and for the current era of cars, it's a bit small in my opinion, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10. B tier. Next up, we have the Circuit de Monaco in Monaco. Held round the tight and twisty streets of Monaco, this race is usually the dullest of the season, with it being easier to win 7 world championships than it is to get an overtake in Monaco. With that said, this place really is the pinnacle of glitz and glamour in Formula 1, drawing A-listers from around the world. It holds the best qualifying of the season, though I personally watch F1 for the racing, not for the quali. Overall for racing, I'm going to have to give it a 1 out of 10, Monaco tier. Next up, we have the Circuit de Catalunya in Spain. Well, Spain. While there is some new circuit changes, which should make racing a lot better, it is undeniable how awful the racing here has been. With that said, what usually makes this track extremely boring is the sheer data teams have on this place due to their experiences in pre-season testing. Though with pre-season testing being moved entirely to Bahrain in 2023, hopefully things are a little better. Overall though, it's trash. 3 out of 10, C tier. Next up, we have the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. I really like this track, it flows nicely, produces some solid racing, and has brought us some absolutely hilarious moments. 8 out of 10, A tier. If If you are still watching at this point in the video, please like, subscribe and comment what your favourite track is on the 2022 calendar. Next up is the Red Bull Ring in Austria. One word: banger. This track is only 4.318 kilometers per lap, but has a colossal 3 DRS zones. It's a temple of overtaking and is one of the best tracks of the year, 9.5 out of 10 and S tier. Next up, we have my absolute favourite track in the world. It's Silverstone in Great Britain. This track is just incredible. It has, in my opinion, the best fans bar that of Monza. It drives just beautifully and is the spiritual home of Formula 1. 11 out of 10, S tier. Next up, we have the Hungaroring in Hungary. Now, looking at the profile of this track, you really wouldn't expect it to produce bangers, especially with the new regs, but somehow it just does. In a fairly boring 2022 season, this was a diamond in the rough. And well, in 2021 it made Esteban Ocon a race winner, so I think it's fair to say it was a pretty cool race. Overall, I'm going to give Hungary a 7.5 out of 10, putting it in the A tier. Next up, we have the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. The longest circuit on the calendar, Spa is a mainstay of Formula 1. It holds the best corner in F1 in the form of Eau Rouge.
That's Radion, actually.
And while 2021 was a bit of a miss, usually there is some decent racing here. 9 out of 10, S tier. Next up is the Circuit Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Overall, I'm not a fan of this place at all. It's too small, and while the banking does bring something a little different, it's just not a fun watch. 3 out of 10, C tier. Next on the list is one of the all-time greats, the Temple of Speed, the home of the Tifosi and an all-round F1 classic. It's the Autodrome Nazionale Monza. This place is the lowest downforce circuit of the year, and in 2020 and 2021 it has brought us an AlphaTauri and a McLaren win. It's a place of drama and pace. 10 out of 10, can't fault it, S tier. Next on the calendar is the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore. This did used to be F1's only night race, though it has now lost that title. The cars do always look incredible under the lights, and the onboards are truly amazing. Though the racing here is subpar at best, so I'm going to give it 4 out of 10 and put it in the C tier. The Suzuka International Racing Course in Japan. This track is great for racing. It has nice corners, some gravel traps, and is overall just one of these cool historic tracks. However, as a spoilt Brit who has all of his races at 2 PM on a Sunday, I'm not a big fan of waking up at 5:30 AM to see this one, so I'm going to dock a few points and give it a 6 out of 10, which places it in the B tier. Next up is the Lusail International Circuit in Qatar. Now, as we've only seen one race here, and it was fairly uneventful and pretty boring, I'm not going to rate this one too highly. It's going to get 3 out of 10, putting it in the C tier. The Circuit of the Americas in the USA. In this track, I love the massive hill into turn 1. That usually provides some great overtaking opportunities, and then into the Suzuka style S's. This place is pretty cool. It has given us some of the most epic F1 footage I've ever seen, and the racing here is usually quite competitive. 8 out of 10, A tier. Next up is the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit in Mexico. This track holds the largest single straight on the F1 calendar, which, as you could imagine, does provide some great opportunities for overtaking. The stadium section is also very cool, and is probably the coolest place to sit on the calendar. However, for me, there's just always something missing with this track, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 and put it in the B tier. Next up is the Sao Paulo circuit in Brazil. This place is just awesome. It always produces bangers, has an amazing crowd, and it gives us loads of overtaking. It's an easy 10 out of 10, S tier. Next is the penultimate race of the season. It's the Las Vegas Strip circuit in the USA. Now, don't get me wrong, this will be really something to see, with the cars barreling down the Las Vegas Strip, with all the lights, the hotels, you know, the whole lot. However, the track layout itself is just not good, and for the penultimate round of the year, racing wise, I think it's going to really disappoint if we have a title battle. So maybe rather controversially, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 and put it in the C tier. Last but not least is the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Now, the changes that have been made to this track have improved raceability, but the fact still lies. This circuit is flatter than an ironing board, and this lack of undulation just makes for a boring race and a bit of a boring watch. While 2021 was interesting, overall, this track for me gets a 5 out of 10, B tier. If you did enjoy today's video, please like, subscribe, hit that bell, comment, All of the engagement really helps the channel more than you can imagine. And yeah, have a good evening, good morning, or good night. Thank you for watching. Bye.